so proudly we hail, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets trembling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave? Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight to rename the name of the brave. We are the US of A. For those unaware, that flag is still there. It's our future to save this land of the brave, the US of A. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, in the home of the
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the All American Savage Show podcast. I am your host, John Burke. It's good to be back. I took a little day off yesterday, and I'm back on Twitch. I greatly appreciate those that are back over on the Twitch channel and supporting me financially through there. It's greatly appreciated. Oh my God, what a day. What a day. I hope you're having a wonderful Veterans Day today. I hope it's a good one for you. And yes, I am pissed off. Yes, there are many things that have me just riled the fuck up today, and I'm going to get into this because it seems to me like the words that we just listened to, the things that we say over and over and over again, ladies and gentlemen, have fallen on deaf ears in our time, in our generation. I woke up today and chose violence. Okay, I'll put it that way. I woke up today and I chose violence. And I'll tell you why. Where my mindset is at right now. On days like today for Veterans Day, I am incredibly grateful for the support of the civilian community that has looked back at the generations of what they did to our Vietnam veterans and how they were mistreated for simply doing as they were told to do. Someone had to go, so they went, or faced jail time, things such as that. And in today's generation of civilians, they saw back during the start of the global war on terror how the veterans were treated when they got home, and they took note of the mistakes made during the Nam generation. And they said, we're not going to allow that to happen again to our current generation of veterans. And I am so incredibly grateful and appreciative to have that support. It means a lot more than many of you realize. And maybe sometimes we as veterans take that for granted. You know, we've become very tone deaf and closed off, some of us, not all, to when civilians thank us for our service on Veterans Day. And so it took me to take a step back and say, hey, maybe be appreciative more that they care enough to say anything. So I am grateful for that. So please don't take me wrong or what I'm about to say, taking it the wrong way. But I feel like this needs to be said. Don't have a long podcast today. It's going to be a very short message, then I got to hit the road. I'm heading up to Austin, go do some hunting. I need to breathe a little bit, just a lot in my mind, a lot of growing. I made a tweet this morning. I shared it across my social media platforms. And I thought long and hard about saying this. And this is something that I've thought more and more and more about in regards to the current condition of our society. And instantly, you know, you're going to be met with people that don't seem to understand where it is that you come from. And I'm going to read for you the tweet now. Many of you have probably seen it. If you follow me on social media, you know what I'm talking about. If you follow me on my Twitter, it's Sergeant Savage. And the tweet reads like this. If you want to thank a veteran today and you're in favor of forced vaccines and mandates supporting it, keyword forced, don't. You're on the same side as tyranny and should be viewed and treated as such. You are our enemy. You're an American in name only. It's a bold statement to make, but I want to dissect this and I want to go to the root of this because a lot of you out there are not listening and you're not looking at what's going on in the current state of affairs in our country. If you sit here and you say that you want to thank our veterans for fighting for your freedom, and then you turn around and you support the stripping away of said freedoms of Americans that don't want to be forced to get the jab, but instead would rather have the freedom to choose, why would you ever thank a veteran? Really think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I ask you, really think about this. Why would you thank the very same people that swore an oath to the Constitution and then turn around and cast aside your freedom when you're threatened with a little bit of possible death that the veterans themselves underwent for many, many years, myself included? Why would you thank somebody? It doesn't make sense to me. The great value brand patriot bullshit needs to fucking end. And I'll put it this way. The tolerance from me is over. And I'll take it a step further. If you vocally support the stripping away of freedoms, if you vocally support the firing of doctors and nurses that for a year and change stood on the front lines combating this pandemic that the government's orchestrated, if you sit there and you vocally support the forced discharges of service members that have fought overseas for those same freedoms you want to kiss their asses for, but now, being they don't want to receive this vaccine, are being kicked out of the service, and you support that, if you support the idea of figureheads like Don Lemon saying things that you should face consequences of your decisions and who you voted for, who say things like you shouldn't have access to grocery stores for parents to feed their children. You shouldn't have access to the gym where you go to work out and get healthy. You shouldn't have access to the basic amenities because you simply don't want to take a vaccine. Now, many are going to focus in on the vaccine itself. Well, John, it's perfectly safe. You don't know that. I don't know that. But one thing I do know is this. This vaccine has underwent no long-term clinical trials. It could be safe for all I know. And in fact, I hope it is. I genuinely hope it is. I don't want anyone that has volunteered to get this vaccine, I don't wish them any ill will. I'm grateful for you in a sense. You volunteered to be the guinea pigs. I'm not going to because I don't trust this government. But don't you dare sit there and approach me, and I speak only for myself, and tell me thank me for my service or thank you for your service when you turn around and you vocally support the tyrannical behaviors of this POTUS that should be guillotined. To sit there and strip away the very freedoms of a free people. A president who walks through restaurants without a mask, who meets the Pope without a mask, who takes questions from selected reporters, by the way, coughing into his hand and then shaking hands with them afterwards without a mask, and yet you stay silent and say nothing. This is not a pandemic. This is a brainwashing of an entire population. Why the fuck would I ever shake your hand? Why the fuck would I ever want to be associated with the likes of you? And let me take it a step further for my veteran supposed brothers that want to call me out on social media. You feel free to do so. But more and more are starting to rally to my side, and you are being ostracized as you should be. There is a difference vocalizing your opinion as protected by your First Amendment right. But then there is your difference of opinion when you vocally support authoritarian beliefs that force your fellow Americans that you want to call brothers and sisters into subjugation by medical tyranny. How dare you sit there and call yourself a veteran? How dare you sit there and claim that you fight for freedom or that you fought for freedom? And I'll take it a step further. We didn't fight for freedom, ladies and gentlemen. We fought because we were lied to. I told you to buckle up. We're going for a ride, and I'm taking you with me. So bear with me. Here we go. Where were the weapons of mass destruction? Where was it all? Why did we sacrifice thousands and thousands of American lives and trillions of dollars poured into the Middle East for two countries that couldn't do it themselves? Propaganda fed through us through fake patriotic bullshit. Now, do I regret going over there? No. 37-year-old John looks back at 17-year-old John, and I don't blame him. He was young. He was naive. He didn't know any better. Just like I don't blame anybody else for it. But there comes a time where you have to wake up and take off the blinders and see the truth of what has happened to our country. When a president is stopped in a court and says these mandates and these vaccines are unconstitutional, and he says, go forward with it, why should we as free citizens obey the laws when our POTUS does not? Explain that to me, because I don't understand it. This is the voice of a free man that wants fairness and equality for all. So if the rich elites don't abide by the same laws they try and push on you, the masses, why the fuck should we toe the line on this? Explain that to me. And for you veterans out there that want to comment and say Burke's just trying to be divisive, and for the non-disgruntled veteran community, you fucking cowards. You sit there behind your keyboards and you keep your fucking mouth shut and you bend the knee to these tyrants in office because you're too afraid to be divisive. I'm sorry, I thought you swore an oath to fight and defend that Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and also domestic. And what does domestic imply? Your fellow Americans. I'll take it a step further. If there was ever a war to happen on these shores as a result of what's going on by these tyrannical mandates, and we did have to pick up arms, I would have no issue putting bullets through you. None. You are the enemy. You either support liberty or you do not. That's all there is to it. Case fucking closed. That's as far as it goes. So don't sit there and tell me to play nice and be cordial to these authoritarian dictators. Why should I? Why should I ever tolerate the likes of you? That's why America's in this situation to begin with, because we've been too kind to pieces of shit like you. There is a clear contrast, a clear, stark difference between using your First Amendment right to vocalize your beliefs, and then there is a difference when you are celebrating and supporting and calling for the stripping away of people's rights and the freedom to choose. You are not, in fact, for freedom. You are the opposite. So then why do we sit there and tell people like Taliban and ISIS, those are the enemies of freedom? Not because of forced theological beliefs, but of forced beliefs. The beliefs themselves don't matter, but it's when you believe in forcing it on the masses, that's where you go wrong. So you are veterans in name only to me, and I have no fucking care for you. You could be starving to death in the street. You'll get no sympathy from me because you would do the same thing to me. Let's stop playing games here, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we're at now. 3-letter agencies weaponized by the government to investigate fellow Americans that speak their minds against CRT. And they're called domestic terrorists. Explain that to me, you supposed fucking veterans that want to stand for liberty. And meanwhile, we've got a government that grows too big under both sides of the political spectrum. It ain't just Democrats, Republicans too. Wake the fuck up. This is where we're at now. Stop being tolerant. I'm not calling for violence, but I'll have no part with you. And simply because you call yourself a veteran, that suddenly means I should be kissing your ass and that we're brothers. I don't know who you are. I certainly don't know what you stand for. But by some of the comments that I see and that I read, you're no different than ISIS to me. You're not for freedom. But you know what it is to you, though? You just don't like the way I deliver my message. No, instead, you would have John Burke on his knees saying, hey, please, guys, stop this. This is not nice. Atheist and foxholes, you want to call me out on Facebook? I posted your fucking little comment and I responded to you. Asshats like John Burke that want to divide people and call for war against fellow Americans. You're not Americans. You were born here, but you're not American. The last I checked, Americans stood for liberty and justice for all. Where is the justice enforcing medical tyranny? Where's that justice? Explain that to me. Some of us in the non-disgruntled community actually are in favor of civilians using their amendments to do. What amendment is that? Please, elaborate for me, you veterans that think that you know what the fuck you're talking about. When in fact, you don't know shit about fuck. The First Amendment? The religious exemptions that are being denied left and right? That amendment? You want to talk about that? Let's talk about that, you fucking idiots. Tell me, brief me more on what you know of the Constitution. Tell me more about what you know about freedom and liberty. I challenge you. Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because you don't know what actually freedom is. Look at the condition of America today, ladies and gentlemen. To get a license for that or approval for that. That's not freedom. It's the opposite. Wake the fuck up. We've been lied to. We are not free. America's a great country, don't get me wrong, but we have gone so far off the reservation. Mandates and laws left and right, more and more laws and laws. You can do this, you can't do that. Who the fuck gives you the right to tell me that? I see nurses that put their lives on the line fighting this pandemic. And the ICUs dealing with COVID now cast aside like yesterday's garbage because they believe in the right to choose. How quickly you cowards cast aside your freedom when just the idea of being in jeopardy is presented to you. You don't even deserve freedom. You don't even deserve liberty. You sat there and you screamed for generations of freedom isn't free. You're right. It's not. It comes with a cost. It comes with sacrifice. Or did you think that sacrifice was somebody else's lives? Is that what you thought it was? No, freedom has to be paid for by everybody. Sometimes that debt has to be collected and sometimes it doesn't. How dare you call yourself a veteran? How dare you say that you stand for freedom? How dare you be afraid to vocalize a thought that so many are thinking but so many are afraid to say? I thought you fought in the global war on terrorism. Now I question that. Did you really fight? Or did you shovel shit back in Louisiana like Patton talked about? Where are the Pattons? Where are the Schwarzkopfs? They don't exist anymore. Political correctness has come in and destroyed America. But it's not too late. Speak your fucking mind. Don't be afraid to offend people. Fuck them. Not literally, unless they're hot. Stop cowering down to these fucking Twitter mobs. Fuck them. The fuck are they going to do? Give me an army of Kyle Rittenhouses. That's what I want. And now Chicago braces for the verdict of a trial that if they don't get their own way, justice be damned. Attacks on the Second Amendment are going to come harder and faster than ever before. Racism gets thrown in there left and right. Every card in the deck of the leftist agenda will be flung onto the table. Common sense goes out the window, and the right to defend yourself is non-existent. Oh, I forgot. Kyle Rittenhouse, like the prosecutor said, what was he doing there with a gun? The cops weren't doing their fucking jobs. And to every cop that has stood by and enforced these stupid mandates that, by the way, are not law, you're no better than a fucking redcoat in my mind. And that badge does not protect you. You're a piece of shit. And fuck you and your blue line. But thank you to the cops and the sheriffs and those that did not enforce it and said, I won't do it. Thank you for doing the right thing. You swore an oath too, and I'm glad you lived up to it. But to the other cops, you'll get what's coming to you eventually. You are tyrant supporters. And they have convinced you that you're doing the right thing when in fact you're on the wrong side of history. Think about this. Why would I tolerate or shake hands or befriend somebody that has vocally said they are in favor of me losing access to basic amenities that I need to survive unless I inject myself with a vaccine? These would be the same types. We ask ourselves these questions in history. How did people stand idly by while the Jews were corralled and loaded up on train cars? Explain that to me. We're seeing it right now. How do you not see this? It's the slow conditioning and programming of a society to be tolerant and accepted and turn the other cheek. You know, Jesus, for those Christians out there that turn the other cheek, you know, Jesus grabbed the whip and beat some ass in the temple and kicked all the money changers out. Jesus was also violent when it called for it. So you Christians have no excuse either. When in fact, so many of you are just cowards and you use religion as your scapegoat because you're too afraid to speak your mind. The power has always resided in the people. The people have the power. It's not the government. You, every single one of you that have a voice together in a collective unison can change so much. We already have in certain areas. But now is not the time to back down. Strike. Make sacrifices. Walk out. Do what you have to do. Hit them in the wallet. Stand united and don't be afraid to make enemies. Who are these people? Who are these veterans? You think they give a fuck about me? They don't give a shit about me. They would just as soon as put a bullet in my head. I guarantee so many of these veterans are going to meme me when I'm dead. Think I give a shit about them? I'm brother to those that stand for liberty. I'm a friend and an ally to those that support freedom. Whether you wore a uniform or you didn't, it doesn't matter to me. You're my people. Black, white, Jew, Gentile, gay, straight, even trans. Don't fucking care. We're on the same side on this one. And you have my support. And I will continue to support you as long as you stand for the freedom to choose. And to those on the other side, if the day ever came to where we did have to pick arms, I would gladly do it. Your prior service means literally nothing to me. You're on the wrong side of history and you know it. You're just a coward in uniform is all you are. Be grateful for men like me that still have the balls to stand up and speak their fucking minds in the face of losers like you. Maybe I am a little angry. I'll admit that. But I think I have every right to be when my inbox blows up every fucking day from young soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, the same asses you fucking people out there kiss on Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. And they're DMing me, John, I've got 8 years in. What am I supposed to do? And I have no answer for them. 8 years wasted. 8 years of sacrifice, missed birthdays, everything. Wasted for what? So you can feel safe against what? A COVID virus that has a 98, 99% survivability rating because you're so concerned? Really? A vaccine that doesn't stop the spread? A vaccine that doesn't prevent you from getting COVID? The same vaccine that you've been lied to by Fauci over and over again, who he himself should be strung up by his fucking neck for lying to the people? Who's been caught in lie after lie after lie, and still you follow blindly? You sheep deserve what comes to you at this point. All because your identity is rooted in your political ideology. Freedom and liberty know no side. They just are. They are there. You either are in support of them or you are not. Whether you be black, red, blue, it doesn't fucking matter. We can agree on this. We can agree on the fact that if you want to get the vaccine, you should be able to get the vaccine. And if you don't want to get the vaccine, you shouldn't be forced to get it. And right now, the battles are in the courts. But the same administration that says respect the law, do what's right, turns around and doesn't and ignores it. So then why should we? I still have yet to have anybody explain that to me. If the elected class don't abide by the same rules and laws set forth for the masses, then why the fuck should they? It's not equality. It's the furthest thing from it. So on this Veterans Day, if you really, really want to thank a veteran, stop supporting those that are against liberty. That is how you thank a veteran. Stop being pushovers and cowards, afraid to speak your mind because the social media non-existent mob will come after you. Fuck them. Stop being afraid of these people. You know how many people have walked through my door here at the Shell Shock HQ knowing I'm in here every day? Zero. You know how many haters I've had approach me on the street? Zero. This world on this phone, outside of this, that's all it is. Typing. What are you afraid of? To make some enemies? Good. Maybe you should make some enemies. I prefer to have real enemies than fake friends. So, you take this for what it is, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on the side of freedom, I am your ally. I'll call you brother. The freedom to worship as you see fit. The freedom to live your life as you so choose. The freedom to love whomever it is that you want to love. That's what I believe in. But many of you forgot. You forgot what that means. Because you're spoiled. You've grown fat off the fruits that other people have died to give you. The fruits of freedom and liberty. You've become complacent. Your swords have grown rusty in their scabbards. Your weapons have fallen into disrepair because you haven't had to use them. Your eyes have grown and developed cataracts because you no longer want to look around and see what's going on. It's too easy to bury your head in the sand and ignore what's happening to our fellow Americans right now. When will you be fed up and have enough? When's the line in the sand for you? And to you that actually support these vaccine mandates, you better be careful. Because that sword that right now you love will come back the other direction. And then there won't be anybody there to stand for you. You don't seem to understand or grasp that. Once the government seizes power under the name of safety, it's almost impossible to get it back. Look at the Patriot Act. We still have it. You know what they told us? We're spying on potential terrorists and also fellow Americans. And if you're not a terrorist, you have nothing to worry about. That's an infringement on your right, ladies and gentlemen. And guess what? We still have it. And guess who voted it to continue going? McConnell and the rest of them. Republicans sold out the First Amendment. They sold out the Constitution. Just as bad as any other entity out there that is anti-liberty and freedom. Because again, they use safety as the banner in which they just slide and usurp power and grow more and more powerful every fucking day. Safety from COVID. Trust the government. 2 weeks to flatten the curve has turned into almost 2 years. When are you going to have enough, America? When are you going to get fed up enough to say, I'm done with this bullshit and I'm not playing by the rules anymore? When are you going to understand and realize there are far more of us than them? But you know how you get people to turn out you make your voice known. And you make it heard loud and clear. Every single one of you that are listening to this right now, wherever you may be in this world, if today you stood up and you started speaking out, more will follow. I promise you that. More will follow. And the little voices peppered all over the world, onesies and twosies, grow into tens and 20s and hundreds and thousands, and before you know it, it's millions. And a movement spawns, a movement of global freedom. Freedom is not just an American value. Freedom is what it is. It's fought for, it's defended, it's believed in. But the first step is you, the individual, have to stand up and make your voice known. That's where it starts. So you take this message today for what it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a happy Veterans Day for me. It's not one at all. We have a government ripe with power. We have Americans suffering and losing their jobs and their way of lives, and you presume to sit there and wish me a happy Veterans Day. I don't blame you. I don't fault you even. But I look at the condition of this country and I'm ashamed. But it's never too late. It's never too late. So you do with that what you will. Fellow veterans, you can blast me on social media. Don't fucking care. I know in my heart where I stand. That document I swore an oath to, I still have that oath. I still believe in it. I still believe in freedom for Americans. Even though you seem to have forgotten your oath. But instead would rather bow down for fear of calling for violence against fellow Americans. I'm sorry, but unless you haven't been watching the news, they've already been violent towards us. They've already weaponized the FBI to spy and investigate, calling us domestic terrorists, calling us the very same names of the people that we fought against overseas. Let that sink in. They are grouping us with terrorists that have cut the heads off of children, buried women neck deep and stoned their heads, that castrate the clitorises of little girls, have sex with their children. I've seen this. And you presume to call me the same thing as them? When all I want is just a simple freedom for people to choose whether or not they want to inject themselves? America's in shambles right now. Stop being tolerant towards these people. Stop befriending them. Shame them. Why would you ever befriend a tyrant? In this day and age, the words have become muddled in confusion. Nazi, bigot, xenophobe. All of these things the left is called the right and the right is called the left, and yet the true meaning is somehow lost in translation. Fascism, that was once a right-leaning terminology, has now moved left. Words don't mean the same thing they used to mean anymore because we've just said them so much. Even words like freedom and liberty mean nothing to people now. Because instead we listen to these songs that boast about how free we are, how good this is, yada, yada, yada. It's propaganda. On both sides. Don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be an American. But I'm ashamed of our people right now. We're better than this. This is not America. We are moving more and more towards a socialist country. So my final question to you today is this. And when you turn this off, don't give an answer right away. Just think about it. Where is the line for you? How long before you get involved? What's it going to take? Had a guy in my comments on Instagram, on that Twitter I posted. John, you seem angry. You need to calm down. No, I think the exact opposite. We've been too calm for the last 5 years. While we've been assaulted in the streets, Antifa runs wild. They should be dead in heaps right now. While elected officials and cops do nothing to protect and serve the people. They failed. Then it's on the people to stand up and defend their communities. You, each and every one of you, the people. Sometimes to do what's right, you have to do what's wrong. I hope you're finally waking up that it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray out there. And in that gray, somewhere, in the midst of the confusion and the back and forth of the left and the right, the truth does exist. But as long as you side with freedom and liberty, you'll never be wrong. You'll never be wrong. How do we not see that now? How has this not sunk in at this point in our lives? So no, I won't be tolerant towards these people. I won't be friends with them. I won't shake their hands. I don't want anything to do with you. In fact, I think you're the enemy. What fellowship has light with darkness? Because I'll tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you think it ends at forced medical tyranny, you're an idiot. You think it ends there? So many of you don't have enough foresight to understand the magnitude of something like this. Where does it end? So close your eyes. Put your blinders back on. Bury your heads in the sand. Nothing to see here because it doesn't impact you directly, right? Spoke on it before. Another famous influencer in the veteran community once said that I don't pay attention to things that don't happen outside of my 3-foot bubble. Well, adopt that perspective and see how well it fares you. These famous veteran influencers, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting for you to say something. You've been quiet. The so-called communities that are pro-freedom and liberty, pro-guns, pro-this, pro-that. I don't hear you saying anything. I hear the little guys screaming. The smaller-owned veteran businesses are making a stand, saying we will not comply. I see them everywhere. But the big ones, not a goddamn peep. I'm waiting, and the rest of the country is watching. Your silence is deafening. So now is the time to stand and speak. It's up to you. So you choose. What's it going to be? You can do silent submission. You got to turn a blind eye. You got to look away. What are you going to do? Because eventually it will be at your front door. And many people that are in my chat right now on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, a lot of them are unemployed now, looking for work. So don't think it won't come to you, because it will. It's only a matter of time. That's all I have. I sincerely wish all of you that have served and stand for liberty today and continue to stand for it a very happy Veterans Day. Hey, I'll even take it a step further. You want to change your profile picture or you in uniform and be proud of your service? So be it. Do it in pride. Right now, it's a cool trend to make fun of those people. These trends shift. You want to go get a free meal, get a free meal. You've certainly earned it. But on this Veterans Day, and especially Memorial Day, these are the things you should be thinking of. These are the things you should be getting involved in. Freedom comes with a price. And one of those prices is eternal vigilance. Keep the watchfires burning. Keep your eyes open. That's where we're at today. This episode is brought to you by ShellShockCBD.com. Today we're running a 20% discount special with code words thank you. Unless you're a veteran that doesn't support freedom, in which case go fuck yourself. As always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your subscriptions on Twitch. Thank you for sharing the podcast. Thank you for telling your friends, and thank you for supporting me. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to me. So until next time, God bless you. May he richly watch over you and your family and keep you. And as always,